Welcome to my channel. This video is for a mini homecoming mom backer and ribbon streamers. Please subscribe and tap that bell so you'll receive notifications on my uploads and live streams. I'm using a 5-inch backer or ribbon spool end, and my ribbons are cut at 5 inches long. I'm using white 1.3-inch acetate ribbon and then this cute polka dot wired ribbon. You need to remove the wires first. Trust me on this, it will be so much easier to work with if you remove those wires. All you need is some needle nose pliers to pull those out. And I show that in many videos. I did not show it in this one though. Okay, now I'm using this navy acetate and then a silver glitter on top. And I'm just going to angle the silver glitter from one corner to the next on top of the navy, and it just kind of slants that silver glitter and just gives it a little bit of an updated and unique look. If you make loops from these wired ribbons like I'm doing, please back them up with an acetate ribbon or double them up, because it just helps those loops to hold their shape. Now I'm cutting some large width acetate ribbon. These come in anywhere from 2.5 to 3 inches wide, and I think they even come bigger than that. But I'm just making some simple loops out of them. I'm not putting any more ribbons on top of them. I'm just going to use this as like a background loop. So I'm starting with the north end of my backer, and I'm just using my scissors there in the center to kind of help me make sure that I am attaching that loop level and straight, and just want to make sure that it's not all crooked and sloppy looking. So now I'm going to move on to the opposite end. So I'm always doing north, south, east, and west when I'm working with 4 loops, and I'm just making sure that I've got it as close to opposite as the first loop, and then I've got it straight. And you also want to make sure that you're getting it even how far up and how far down you're putting it on the backer as well. So now I'm moving on to the polka dot, and I'm putting those in between the whites in that space. And you can use those loops that you've already attached to kind of make sure that you're attaching it evenly between those white loops. And as you can see, or I hope you can see that since I doubled that wired ribbon up with an acetate, they're holding their shape really well. I've seen pictures of people making mums with wired ribbon and they don't put the acetate with it, and you can tell it makes them, they look really flat, they lose their shape, they get squished really easily. So now I'm taking the other loops that I made with the glitter ribbon, and that's a 5/8 inch width glitter ribbon, and I'm just attaching it directly on top of the white and just down just a little bit, but right in the center of it. And I always staple 2 times per loop just to make sure it's on there nice and evenly, or nice and securely. I'm just going to work my way around and attach all 4 of these loops directly on top of the white. Like I said, that white, it was just really for filler, so I didn't need to decorate it at all. It wasn't going to be seen very much. I just needed a filler. So I always check it with my flour and make sure that it looks good, that you can't see any staples or anything. That way I know I'm done with the backer. And I may still add some more stuff, I don't know, but this is, the basis of it is done, and I'm just clipping that on there so I know it's right centered up and I can look at it and see that it looks really good. So my backer is finished, and now I'm going to move on to my streamers. And you can cut these, you can cut them as short as 12 inches, and you could go as long as like 15-16 inches. It just depends on how big of a mum you're trying to make. And I always start with my center streamer, and I make it the longest. For this style that I'm doing of mini mum and Peewee mums, the way I like to taper them, where they're longer in the center and then they taper shorter as you get wider and wider. So if you don't like that, if you want a different style, you do a different style. This is just for this style, how I like to do it. Now I'm moving on to my next 2 ribbons that are going to go on either end of the blue. And if you layer those where the top side is on top and on bottom facing out, you can cut them at the same time, and then the cuts that you make at the end are going to match up evenly. But you want to make sure that you're layering those ribbons or stacking them together so the good side is on top and facing out. So it's facing out, the top ribbon, it's going to be on top facing out, and then the bottom one's going to be on bottom facing out. And then the inner part of the ribbon that you don't want shown is going to be together. I hope that makes sense. So now I'm moving on to the blue, and you see how I put them together and then cut them, and now they match perfectly. And I just very carefully, I take my time on this step because I want them to overlap. And I don't want it to look sloppy. I want them to be as matchy as I can get them, because I don't add a lot of stuff on my Peewee mums or mini mums. I don't add a lot of braids and chains and stuff. I usually do a lot of stickers and stuff like that. So I really want to make sure that my streamers look really nice, that they look even, that they're clean, and again overlapping so there's no gaps. And then you can go as wide as you want. You just have to be careful about going too wide. I have made these really wide, but it gets really difficult to staple them the wider you go because you can't get to the center of the backer. So now I'm going to add that polka dot ribbon again. I'm just cutting that the length that I need, and here I am going to remove the wire and show you that method after I cut. I'm just making sure that I cut the second one exactly the same length as the first one. And so you just take those needle nose pliers and you just pull that wire out. It's really easy. It can get a little stuck there, but it's usually really easy just to pull that out. You definitely don't want the wire on there for the streamers either, because you want them to lay naturally. You don't want them to get bent and stuff. So always take those wires out. This is not a wreath, so you don't want the wires in the ribbon. And I'm just going on opposite ends there, putting that pretty polka dot on each side. This is actually going to be for a baby shower mum. So I'm trying to do it all nice and cutesy, and I'm trying not to make it too big, because the customer was undecided on whether to go with a ribbon pin or a homecoming or a mom. So I try not to make it too big. Here's a peek at it when it was finished. I am going to have another video showing how I decorated it, so look for that. Thanks so much for watching. Please comment, share, like, subscribe. Don't forget to tap the bell. Please be kind with your comments. Please be kind to others. Happy crafting and happy homecoming mom making, everybody. Thanks.